I'll call her if it's just around her house, or I may bring it to you. You know
Good to see you too.
Milton Matthews, I'm the president and CEO of the Columbia Association, and this event, the dedication of the poster trees, is the first in a series of events we have planned for late this afternoon and early this evening, which we're calling a special evening of sights and sounds. The posters hanging on the trees is the creative work of Miss Gail Holliday, who is firmly linked to the history. Miss Holliday is firmly linked to the history of Columbia because it's my understanding that she's one of the first individuals hired by the Rouse Company to work on Columbia. Miss Holliday's brightly colored, primitive style, silkscreen posters reflect the importance of nature, the connection of neighborhoods, and the innovation and exuberance of Columbia. The first poster trees were erected in front of the exhibit center on Wincopen Circle. When the exhibit center closed in 1989, the poster trees remained for several years, but eventually the trees were taken down and the posters stored at Columbia Association's maintenance facility. And here where Sean Harbaugh comes into play. And the story goes, well, first, Sean is a longtime team member of the Columbia Association, and he's born and raised in Columbia, so he's passionate, he wears it on his sleeve about Columbia. But the story goes that one day they were doing an inventory inspection of our maintenance at our storage area in our maintenance facility, and the posters were rediscovered, and they were tagged for disposal. Sean stepped in, realizing, and I wanted to say he used his instincts and also some history he knew about the posters, and realized that those posters should not be disposed of. And so everything started working very quickly. Fast forward to 2016, when Columbia Archives in the 50th birthday celebration decided that a proper piece of public art to mark the Columbia's 50th anniversary would be the reinstallation of the poster trees. So we brought back Miss Holliday. She was commissioned to restore the posters. Dennis Maddie, Sean, and others at the Open Space, our Department of Open Space and Maintenance facility, quickly started the work to design the poster trees and have them installed. And after roughly 2 months of working at the Art Center, Miss Holliday restored the poster trees, and we present them to you this afternoon. Returning to Columbia years later to restore them. Sean, wherever you are, I know you're passionate about the Columbia community, but also I now know that passion takes you snooping around in our disposal areas. But well done, I was glad you were there. And thanks to all others who were involved in returning the posters to their rightful place as public art in downtown Columbia. Now I'd like to bring up or invite up Mr. Pat Kinney, the former CEO of the Columbia Association. Mr. Kinney.
Thank you, Milton. It's good to see so many old friends here. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to have Gail Holliday's posters installed here in Kennedy Gardens. And it's especially meaningful for me because when I arrived in Columbia 45 years ago, the first place they took me to was the exhibit center to see Gail Holliday's posters and the slideshow on Columbia. After that, for years after that, whenever I was asked to take visitors, a visiting delegation on a tour of Columbia, I would have them gather under the poster tree and tell them all about Columbia's villages and neighborhoods, and then we'd be off on a tour of the town. I always think that the people tree and the poster tree are the two iconic trees of Columbia, but both of them capture the spirit, the vision, the hopes that Jim Rouse had for the city, and I do so beautifully. So how great it is to have the poster tree installed here in the garden. The Kennedy Gardens here is my favorite spot in Columbia. You cannot beat that $1 million view of the town center and the heart of Columbia. And it does my heart good to see people biking around the lake, strolling around the lake, and stopping now to see Gail Holliday's magnificent posters and the poster tree. It's perfection, and such a wonderful, wonderful way to celebrate Columbia's 50th anniversary. Thank you, Gail.
Okay, now I'd like to welcome up Miss Lynn Egan. She's the CA board member from the village of Town Center. Okay.
Well, this is kind of an Academy Award moment for me. I am so humbled and so honored to be here on this very wonderful day in front of all of these wonderful people, many of whom I know and have known for quite some time. But before I get into anything technical about the poster trees and a little history, there are tons of people that with these poster trees would not be up here. And I'd like to give a lot of thanks to some of them. Barbara Kellner, if it weren't for you and your vision, wherever you are, we wouldn't have this project. Okay. It was with your ideas and your vision and your persistence and your sense of humor that this project became a reality. Thank you. Dennis Matty, you kind of buzzed into my office, you know, and we talked and made some changes, thank God. But if it weren't for you and your budget, these things wouldn't have been built. So I must say that I'm most gracious for your generosity from CA, on behalf of CA, for finding the money to get this job done, because I know there was a lot that was involved in getting it done. Thank you. Jan Clark, the go-to lady. If it weren't for handling all the details while I was here, including getting the plaque done, doing part of the landscape design here, and handling a lot of the details that I had to have handled, I really am grateful that you were able to be so helpful. Thank you. Sean Harbaugh, you were the great caregiver of these posters, both before and after. Thank you for your concern. Thank you for taking care, such good care of these babies. You were kind of the father hen or the father rooster of all this. After the posters were finally completed, you even built wonderful little boxes to put them in so they wouldn't get scratched. I'm really grateful that you took the time and effort to do this. Liz Henze and your staff, Trudy and other people in your organization, you couldn't have been more gracious. You couldn't have been more accommodating and more fun of accepting me and, of course, Henry. I so much enjoyed working in the back room. I had such a good time. We had such nice lunches and talks. I just felt like I was in my home studio when I was working there, and I'm so gracious of having you accommodate me at the Art Center. So thank you. And then my good friends Eileen and Mikey, you put up with me for 2 months at your home while I lived. It was kind of like a bed and breakfast, actually. I'm really grateful for having such wonderful friends, and the Madzels too, for putting up with me and putting up with Henry for that long period of time. Because remember, I was supposed to stay a month, and it ended up by being 2 months. And I said, by the way, I'm not quite finished yet. Do you mind if I stay a little longer? So I'm really grateful. And I'm grateful for a lot of other people who I met along the way that were so appreciative. I also want to thank Marley's East for the 50th birthday celebration committee for accommodating my trip back here in order to be here at the commemoration dedication of these poster trees. And of course, Jess Duval is here. She's my art agent, and she's been very successful in selling a lot of my prints. So kudos for her. I know I've left out other people, but I guess I should move on before it gets too boring. To tell you a little bit about the poster trees themselves. There is a difference, as most folks probably realize, there is a difference between the paper posters that probably ended up by being around 50 or 60 in the course of the years that I worked, beginning for the Rouse Company and ending probably in the mid-'80s as an art contractor for the Rouse Company. Of doing most all of the neighborhoods here in Columbia, as well as other posters that weren't necessarily neighborhood oriented, but were conducive of people and the celebration and the diversity and the community feelings of Columbia. So those posters were actually on paper. They were screen printed. They were 2 foot by 3 foot, and they were all handmade by me in the silkscreen method. Subsequently, in the mid-'70s, there was an idea that was floated around by the Rouse Company that, gee, it would be a nice idea for some of these designs to go on metal panels and on some kinds of structures to attract people to the exhibit center, so that Columbia, that's the marketing place where people went to find out about Columbia. There were slideshows and there were brochures about the builders and about the amenities of Columbia, about the schools, about everything in Columbia. So these poster trees were done and put up probably around the mid-'70s. What I had to do was to translate what design was made out of 2 by 3 feet into 30 inches by 48 inches on metal. and that was done through various projection techniques that I used to draw the designs onto metal. But they are pretty close to copies of the actual original posters that I had done before. And they were also hand painted with very heavy duty outdoor enamel paints. The original poster trees that were outside the exhibit center were probably there until the early 90s, after they took or stopped the exhibit center from being there. So when I came to Columbia last spring to restore the panels, I thought, well, maybe they'd take a month to do. But they ended up, because of their detail and because of the fact that I mixed all the colors to match as closely as possible to the original silkscreen prints that I had done, it took 2 months instead of 1 month. But I really had a great time doing this. Anyway, there were many colors that were mixed. There were many colors that I used on these various and sundry posters. Some of the paint colors were the same on a few here and there, but basically they were reproductions from the original, and I really truly enjoyed doing them. So I'll take a couple of questions if anyone has any question, but if not, thank you all. I'm glad you're here. Yes.
I have a question. I've noticed that as you did several neighborhoods in the same village, they are reflective of each other. The ones from the Oakland Mills, the Thunder Hill, and the Stevens Forest, you use the same colors. They're very similar. King's Contrivance is a totally different look, where Huntington and McGill's Common are very different, but are complementary. Was that deliberate on your part? Or was that
Well, it was just my style kind of started to change and be experimental as time went on, because these were done over a period of maybe 10 or 15 years. So the later neighborhoods that I did, like McGill's Common and Huntington, I don't know, I was kind of in a woodblocky feel. So I wanted to do them to look kind of like old-fashioned woodblocks. Whereas the Stevens Forest, Thunder Hill, the Beatles sort of era kind of reflected that kind of art, the psychedelic art, and also Mexican folk art that I dearly love. Stevens Forest was really a take from some Mexican folk art paintings. So it was a series of different things. And also I tried to incorporate in some of the posters some of the elements that were preserved in Columbia, such as, well, Dorsey Hall's not up here, but Dorsey Hall had the manor, and actually McGill's Common also had the manor, which is now, I believe, King's Contrivance. So, and Huntington had the old rail trestle bridge over the little river or the little lake. So I did try to incorporate some of the historic elements in some of my neighborhood posters.
Well, and thank you for being here this afternoon. A couple of weeks ago, I had the honor of co-officiating at an interfaith service at the Chrysalis. And in honor of Columbia's 50th birthday, I wrote a song that was inspired by the peepal tree that you see across the lake. And so somehow in my mind, that peepal tree became a tree of life. And the idea of the tree continues on with these magnificent posters behind us. So please sing with us. If you have a sheet and the folks next to you don't have a lyric sheet, please share. My song is incomplete without your voices. So please feel free to join in and sing along. And I'm hoping you can hear me. So here's how it goes. This is the chorus. Up from the ground we grow, up to are all leaves on the tree of life. Up from the ground we grow, up to the sky. We are all leaves on the tree of life. Long ago there lived a man who dared to dream a dream. He dreamed the place where everyone would come to live in peace, of every faith and mother tongue, of every race and creed, would come together on a tree of life they call the people tree. Up from the ground we grow, up to the sky. We are all leaves on the tree of life. Up from the ground we grow, up to the sky. We are all leaves on the tree of life. Pioneers from all walks of life and many a winding road came fired up with big ideas, vision, joy, and hope. They left behind the life they knew to live the wondrous dream. Like birds that soar from distant shores, they joined the people tree. Oh, up from the ground we grow, up to the sky. We are all leaves on the tree of life. Up from the ground we grow, up to the sky. We are all leaves on the tree of life. On the people tree, we learn from each other and share the yearnings of our souls. On the people tree, see beauty in each other, and the vision of our differences makes us whole. We know not what tomorrow brings, it's not for us to see, but we can choose how to live and who we want to be. By the hallowed path you follow, by the sacred truth you seek, we are blessed 1,000-fold upon the people tree. Oh, up from the ground we grow, up to the sky. We are all leaves on the tree of life. Up from the ground we grow, up to the sky. We are all leaves on the tree of life. We are all leaves on the tree of life. We are all leaves on the tree, and the people tree is still blooming. Thank you.
Birthday committee, it was appreciate the past and imagine the future. So we think about celebrating the future, and just some comments that I want to share with you. And these are from my perspective, after almost 4 years in Columbia. Mr. Rouse's vision to build Columbia, not just another city, but a complete city on 1,400 plus acres of farmland in rural Howard County, to me was the first step in the development of the Columbia community. Through those intervening years that have brought us to 2017 and the Columbia's 50th anniversary, Mr. Rouse's vision for the community, I believe, is a sustaining factor, which underscores all that makes Columbia such a special place. And we have to say we have the awards to acknowledge that status. We all know that visions are aspirational. And we all know that Mr. Rouse believed that a truly complete city was never complete. It must continue to evolve and grow. Thereby, we turn our attention to the future of Columbia. And already we can see the signs in the downtown area and other areas of the community indicating just how bright the future will be. And as all of you know, there's more to come. So at the end, I would like to thank all of you for joining us for this event. The dedication of the poster trees, I believe that all of us will agree that it will further enhance the landscape at the Kennedy Gardens. So we're supposed to be closing with the trumpets. They're gone? Okay, thank you. And please, everyone, remember the series of other events we have starting at 6 o'clock over on the plaza.